Naperville now getting warned, and it's not popping up just yet. Tornado warned again, now kind of over the Darien to Burr Ridge area. Spotters have been saying that there's a developing tornado along with this, and I completely believe them given what I had seen just a few minutes ago. Move over the Naperville area, and there you go, the tornado warning box is on. The good news about this is that it's another relatively small box. I'm going to take the radar completely off. We don't need that right now. I just want to give folks in the way a heads up. So this goes until 6:30 and includes kind of right out near Burr Ridge. That's like the back edge of this box, all the way up to Burbank. Darien is also in this too, and that goes until, as I mentioned, 6:30 in the evening, so for 20 minutes. The good news about this so far is that we have not confirmed a tornado just yet. I'm switching over. However, we're hearing from the National Weather Service that there's a developing tornado at I-55 and County Line Road, right at that exit, and moving over the mall complex. Oh, I know where that is, and I'm sure you do too if you're in the area. Kind of headed out towards like the Edgewood Valley Country Club at this hour. So that is where we are watching for the area of most concern. And it's wild. This is just south of the Brookfield Zoo too. So if you're out in Brookfield, I'm sure this tornado sirens are likely sounding at this point. This is going to kind of move over the Midway Airport. Is that warning actually over Midway? Let me just lay this back on real quick. Okay, so it doesn't quite go to Midway just yet. So the south edge of the storm is the part that is warned. I know, believe me, I understand this does not look very impressive on the radar, but there are actual eyes that are on this, and seeing the wall cloud that continues to try and drop a funnel and then pull it back up and drop a funnel and pull it back up. And that's just the type of scenario that you don't want, because it's so borderline, and it can drop a tornado for just a couple of minutes and then pick it back up and then drop it just a little ways down the road. I'm going to switch over to the velocity data. I haven't had a chance to look at it just yet because, of course, we came right on with this morning. So just bear with me for one quick second while I pull the velocity data back up. It's going to be back where it was back there in DuPage County earlier. And as we pull it up and take a look, you can very clearly see where that sharp rotation is associated with this. I'm going to kind of clean this up just a little bit. Again, in that warning area, it goes all the way to Summit along the Stevenson. Basically, if you live anywhere in the vicinity of Midway Airport, you're going to want to go ahead and take your tornado precautions, especially if you live off to the east, or west rather, of Midway. So let me go ahead and pull this map back. So again, Midway is the far eastern extent of this. Burbank is the far eastern extent of this. Bridgeview, you're kind of on the eastern extent up to Stickney, and Summit too. This is going right down the Stevenson, right during rush hour too, again, past the Burr Ridge exit. And I think you can kind of tell for yourself exactly where the best rotation is on the radar right now. If you can't, I'll point it out. Again, this is moving eastward at 25 miles per hour. So as you have kind of the sanitary canal that you can kind of follow along the highway. That's down here off to the south. It's getting ready to pass that, kind of where the little reservoir is. And this will continue likely moving right down the southern side of the highway, right now crossing where that 294 interchange is after that sharp curve in I-55. Again, if you drive in these spots, you know precisely where I'm talking about. Right now I'm going to mess rather with the tilt elevation on this for our radar, just to kind of see how deep and shallow this rotation goes and how far it extends. Yep, that's the lowest level scan we have. So I'm going to plot this off to the east at about 25 miles per hour real quick and just see where this ends up over about the next 15 to 20 minutes. And again, it brings you into those spots that I just talked about: Burbank, Bridgeview, Justice, and Willow Springs. And Cheryl's also standing by in the other studio with updates on this storm, as we watch not only this one, but the one that's north over O'Hare too.
Exactly, and we also have another tornado warning that was just issued for McHenry County. So things are getting really active right now, so just stay with us and we're going to take you through it as these warnings continue to pop up and develop. But this one now issued for McHenry until 6:45, and we are seeing some strong rotation being picked up here on our radar. So let me take this box off, but anyone in this zone here in McHenry, if you're getting that alert, that warning on your phone, you need to seek shelter immediately. Lowest level of your home in a basement if possible. So let's take this off and zoom on in, as we were just talking about that one storm in Cook County, but McHenry County right around the Grafton area around 47. This is where we're finding the possibility of that rotation. A thunderstorm producing a tornado cannot be ruled out. This is moving to the east now at about 35 miles per hour. And as it does, it's going to bring some very heavy rain and gusty winds. So out ahead of this, Crystal Lake, as we track this at 6:23, Algonquin 6:27, Cary at 6:30. 6:32 and Fox River Grove at 6:35. What I want to do is switch over to velocity mode and take a look because it was looking pretty impressive just about a second ago. And there you can clearly see here in McHenry County where we're finding those greens next to the reds crossing over 47. There is apparent velocity and spin on this storm. So back to radar we go, crossing over 47 right now. Huntley up towards Grafton, zooming on in here, Crystal Lake, Algonquin. You're out ahead of this, approaching 31 there. If you're in the path of this storm, Lake in the Hills, we have James Rico Road there, and then stretching to North Randall. This is the neighborhood here that is going to continue to work off, or the street there, I should say, that it's going to continue to press off to the east. And then Crystal Lake, you're in this zone as well as Oakwood Hills. We're getting a lot of information in, and we are seeing a confirmed tornado right now in Cook County around the Midway area. You are getting the updates on this. This is posing a threat, and an actual tornado touchdown is now being confirmed, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely right. Confirmed on the ground. I kind of got my head down. I'm looking for the debris signature that we so often see on radar. When a tornado is on the ground and actually destroying things, it lofts that debris up into the air, and the radar very easily can see that debris. So we are watching very closely. You can see the red box kind of flashing on behind this velocity data. This is the hot spot here. So confirmed tornado on the ground. And again, the last spot that it was is heading into Hodgkins, so it just crossed 55. Remember how I was talking about it, kind of riding along Interstate 55? It was off to the south. Well, it has now just crossed the interstate into Hodgkins. If you are in Hodgkins, absolutely 1,000%, you need to be in your safe space right now. Turn the TV way up, go to the center of your house, the lowest possible level that you can, or your apartment complex too, if you got friends that are lower down. Get as low as you can, as there is indeed a confirmed tornado on the ground. It has been seen from Midway Airport. They've, of course, got pilots out there. They got a big control tower so they can see up and above all of the buildings. I wouldn't be surprised if at Midway that report came from someone who's actually in ops out at the airport. So watching this very closely, if it's cross 55 headed into Hodgkins, then it's likely going to cross 55 again before it gets to Summit. So there you go. Latest update on the radar. This is probably, if not definitely, since they've seen a tornado on the ground. Just visually from what I'm seeing here, even in the velocity data, you can tell. Look at these greens that are packed right next into bright, bright reds, and it's gone past the reds and into the yellow contour. So this is certainly a very tight, very low-level rotation, and I cannot overstate enough. This is not play around time, Doppler radar saying maybe there's some spin in the atmosphere. This is tornado on the ground, dangerous, life-threatening situation right near and just west of Summit. So this is going to cross 55 again. It's the evening drive. If you have any friends or relatives that are driving out of Chicago right now and trying to get back to Burr Ridge, or anybody who has to pass Midway Airport, tell them right now to stop, get off the highway, and possibly turn around if they're headed out of the city, out in that direction. If you have folks or friends who are maybe coming into the city right now to enjoy the evening and they haven't made it to Hodgkins just yet, or to Burr Ridge, again, that's that big curve in 55 as you're headed in from the west, and you can actually kind of see Chicago off in the distance before you curve there, and 294 is that left exit that's out there on 55. So if they're getting to that point or around that point, or you're just vaguely aware of what I'm talking about, then you know exactly where you need to be taking shelter, and they should not be heading any more east than that right now. As we continue to watch this, scan by scan comes in. Every about 2 minutes worth, we get another scan. I'm going to kind of step off to the side just a little bit so I can look at the freshest data as this moves in. But Cheryl, this is certainly very concerning to me as we see that very strong rotational couplet that's going on. And I believe that there's going to be a new tornado warning for central Cook County. Is that true? Has that been issued just yet as this tornado continues to make its way off to the east? Can you give me any details on that?
Yep, it is just coming in right now, and now we have a confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado on the ground right now. This is a dangerous situation, so you need to get in your warrant or your safety zone, lowest level of your home, basement possible. If you don't have a basement, you want to be on the lowest level of your home, away from walls and windows. We are now getting an update that a confirmed extremely large tornado is on the ground, and we are seeing evidence of that. This is velocity velocity mode so we can clearly see the spin here, and this is what we're looking at. So now this is just passing 12 there to the north of Hotchkiss and Summit, just along I-55, just to the north. But if you are in this area and out ahead of this storm, this is when you need to get to your safe place immediately. This is a dangerous situation. I know that we have storm spotters out in the field as well, and I'm seeing some images come in of that confirmed tornado touching down as well. So this is going to be crossing over 171-34. There's Stickney, there's 43, there's I-55. This is the intersection here where we're seeing the potential of some damage out of this with the confirmed dangerous large tornado on the ground. Trying to keep up with all of the updates here. It's moving to the north and east at about 30 miles per hour. So for those of you out ahead of this storm, get ahead of it. Get to your safe spot. Summit 622. Right now, you need to be downstairs in the basement, away from walls and windows. Forest View getting closer to you in just the next couple of minutes. And Stickney at 625. This is also just to the north of Midway right now. So again, this is impacting a lot of people. We have a lot of homes, a lot of people probably traveling right now. If you know of anyone that's about to head out in this vicinity, absolutely not. Stay home. Midway, likely. Sirens are going off as well. Everyone getting to the tornado seek shelter zones in the airport, likely being very close to this. I know there's a lot of alerts coming in right now. Let me switch over to radar. So here's a look at this warning coming in that has been extended with that considerable damage tag. So again, this confirmed large tornado touching down. Out ahead of it, we have to be prepared. From Wrigley Field down towards Chicago, now in that tornado warn zone, stretching off just to the south of the city as well. So what we're looking at here, just to the south of Brookfield, Cicero out ahead of this storm. We're going to zoom in closer. We're going to get you street level because we need to get you prepared for those of you in this zone. Joliet Road here, Stickney, Forest View. This is heading in your direction. 47th Street, Ogden Ave. If any of this looks familiar, if you're hearing your street name, if you're hearing your city, get to that safe spot. Out ahead of it, taking you a little bit farther to the east, there's I-55 crossing over 50 there, but Cicero, you're in this warn zone. Berwyn likely just off to the north, but again with the rotation in the atmosphere, these storms could wobble just a bit. So that's why we do have that large area of this warned zone with this storm. We have a lot more updates coming in as well because I know we have some new warnings that have been issued across the area. A new tornado warning, which we're going to continue to stay on all of this to continue to keep you updated, has just come in now for Kane County as well. This one until 6:45. So Elgin, just to the north of Campton Hills. We're finding some spin here this warning, which will be in effect for the next about 20-25 minutes. But Greg, right now that big concern is with the confirmed tornado touchdown. I'm seeing a lot of new updates coming in. What are you seeing? What are you hearing with the latest on this?
That you're seeing and hearing, and that is a very strong and extreme situation that's unfolding for us here along the I-55 corridor. So as Cheryl mentioned, as I'm going to mention here as I kind of reorient the radar, this does not look very good on the actual radar screen, so I'm going to keep it in velocity mode and also keep this on the board. A very strong, violent tornado right now on the ground. It's not just radar indicated. We are seeing every single indication of this being on the ground, of destroying things on the ground, lofting them into the air, and those are being picked up by the radar. Again, this is out near Midway right now, but it is marching right down Interstate 55, and it is doing so at a painstakingly slow 30 miles per hour. Rush hour slow, making its way down the highway. And I cannot overstate what Cheryl said. If you have folks that want to travel on 55 or that do travel on 55, this is the evening commute time. It is time to tell them to not go on the highway. If they are in Chicago, they need to hang out at work. They need to go to a safe spot in work because this is headed towards the city. And if you're off to the west of this warning, thankfully you're in a safe area. You should not head into this warning box. Going on, you should not go into this warning box right now, specifically along the I-55 corridor, because this isn't just another storm. This is a storm that has been confirmed on the ground and is producing destruction as we speak. Right now, just south of Cicero, poor Cicero, Cicero cannot catch a break. Of course, they had the flash flooding of under a week ago, more flooding too over the rains that have been through the last couple of rounds. And now that tornado is sitting just north. Remember how I said it was near the sanitary canal on 55? That's exactly what it is. So there's the canal, right, that they dug to reverse the flow of the Chicago River. It sits right next to 55. I'm sure you've seen it 100 times. There's like some quarries that are over there. There's some industrial stuff that's over there as you pass by Midway. That is where the tornado is right now. If you got off the exit, you headed north, kind of where Ogden 34 ends out there, then you'd be right underneath the center of this. If you are in Cicero, if you're anywhere in Cicero, if you are in Oak Park, if you are anywhere around Chicago, you should be down into your safe area right now. Easiest thing to do is turn your TV up as high as it can go if you don't have that in your safe space and go there. We are going to stay on the air until this does finally make its way out over Lake Michigan because this is showing no signs of slowing down. Again, the I-55 corridor is the biggest concern, and I would put about 5 miles or so on either side of the highway. So Cermak Road, Roosevelt Road is probably a pretty good one too. I don't know if that one's showing up. There's Cermak. Okay, there's Roosevelt Road. Yeah, so Roosevelt Road, Cermak Road, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Cicero as well, West 31st Street, all streets that we've driven on before. These are the spots that are going to be of the most concern within about the next 5 or 10 minutes. The good thing about this is that it is moving incredibly slow. Of course, that's bad for folks who are underneath it right now out in Stickney. But the good news is that we have plenty of lead time for areas that are off to the east. Again, looking at some new warnings that are coming in, I'm seeing trees down, house damage at Algonquin and Reed. That's out in Huntley. So with our western cells out there, and these are all stuff for the western tornado warning. And they're going to mop up that warning here in the next couple of seconds for around Cook County. I do want to spread out the view here and show you what we have going on just for warnings that are across the viewing area right now, so you kind of get an idea of how quickly, if you were with us at 4 o'clock, we had some action that was out near Dubuque, Iowa, crossing the Mississippi River, some action that we said, okay, this is definitely going to do something. Well, here you go. So they are expiring likely this warning here that's back out off to the west. I'm aware you can't see my cursor, so let me just go ahead and highlight that. They're going to expire probably this morning. They're likely going to keep this warning going all the way into Chicago. And as Cheryl said, this goes all the way up to Wrigleyville. These storms, when they're this strong and they're this self-contained, they like to wiggle a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if it is along 55 now, but then it wiggles a little bit up to the north and all of a sudden it jumps up to the Ike. So if you're along the Ike, the central exit on the Eisenhower, the central exit on the Stevenson for that matter, you are going to want to go ahead and go to your safe spots now from Oak Park all the way off to the east and into Chicago. Again, backing up that view just a little bit, going out to our western counties, these are ones we have to keep an eye on. Algonquin out near Gary, so you're in southern McHenry County now. Your, not severe thunderstorm warning, your tornado warning goes until 6:45. So you got about 15-20 minutes left on that. And we were also watching a cell that was out in Elgin, and your Elgin warning probably goes until about the same time. Yeah, 6:45 there. Again, if you are just tuning in now and you're just hearing about this tornado warning that is out for the city of Chicago, including the north side, this goes until 7 o'clock. At the very least, we are on the air until 7 o'clock covering this as it makes its way through the city of Chicago. And I can hear NWS chat going off in my ear. I know the updates are. Do you have any other reports that you can pass along at this time?
Just keeping our eyes. We still do have a few tornado warnings on the map right now, but the one in Cook County definitely is the one that we're continuing to monitor closely. We still clearly have a signature here on velocity that we're still showing signs of some very strong rotation, and this is on top of Stickney right now. There is I-55, so just off to the north right now, and as Greg mentioned, riding just up to the north and east along that canal. So Cicero, you are just out ahead of this, and you can zoom on in, and as we can see some of these streets that this is about to cross over, South Central Avenue, we have Pershing Road here, West 35th Street. Again, off to the north and east, it's moving at about 25 to 30 miles per hour, but no signs of this weakening with the latest scans, which is truly impressive. So it is holding on to its structure, and thankfully we do have velocity, which helps us find that spin in the atmosphere. Radar scans not showing too much. So again, there may not be heavy downpours or torrential rain with this, but what we're finding is that thunderstorm that developed, that shower activity that continued to intensify, picking up on the spin, and that's because we have so much wind shear in the low levels of the atmosphere at ground level. So as these storms and showers continue to form, they quickly pick up on the volatile wind environment, and that's wind shifting in from different directions at different heights, which allows the storms to twist and turn and spin, and rotation is definitely evident. So keeping up with the latest, we do have this tornado warning that's in effect for Cook County, and this will be in effect here until 7 p.m. So anyone in this pink area, in this cone, in this warned zone, you need to stay with us. We're going to keep you updated as this storm continues to pass off to the east. But we also have some other tornado warnings on the map. So let's take you back to radar right now. But the one in Cook County, definitely a big concern because there have been reports of a dangerous confirmed tornado on the ground. I believe we just got a new warning in now, and this is going to be parts for northern Cook County as well. As you can see, Bloomingdale in the zone here as well. So let's get the latest. This one in effect for Kane, the latest update for Cook and DuPage now. This will stay in effect until 7 p.m. as well. So as I take off this is this new warned zone out ahead of that spin that we were tracking moving through Elgin and South Elgin, pushing to the east, Bartlett, Bloomingdale, Carroll Stream, Schaumburg in the zone, as well as Wayne. So we're finding the rotation here. This is radar indicated as of right now. Storm spotters out there finding spin, wall clouds, and funnels across the region. Looking at the latest coming in from the chat, just wanted to check in again with you, Greg, because I know there's a lot of information coming in, so I don't want to miss anything as I'm talking about radar. So what are you seeing at this moment?
It's honestly unbelievable because we do have so many active warnings right now. We've got 2 meteorologists and 4 warnings that are going on at this point here. So now the newest warning, which you just saw flashing on the screen behind me, is for northern DuPage County and also extreme southern and western portions of Cook County, kind of that little appendage up there around the Palatine, Bartlett, Schaumburg type area. So I'll zoom into that in just a second. And if we can take that camera, let me know, because I take that at just about any time. It looks like, though, I was just checking our live camera. There's McCook Reservoir. Remember I was talking about the Chicago Canal? There's a reservoir there that has a camera that is looking right now off to the east. And what I can see on that camera is the wall cloud from this storm, and there is not a tornado on the bottom of the wall cloud, at least from my view right now. Okay, so you can't pop me up on there with it, and if you could, that'd be some TV magic, but you see that right there? Kind of move the cursor over towards the middle. Yeah, right there. Yeah, very clearly, that's the wall cloud. That's been rotating. We've been watching that. The tornado kind of came down from that for a brief period, but that is still being watched very closely. Again, this isn't high enough of a resolution view to not know that there is some spin at the ground, but it looks like for the time being, from the visual of that, that the tornado is no longer on the ground. So I'm going to continue to watch that because it is a very live view. And then we're going to take you back to the weather maps. I've got that up on one of my computers here off to the side. I'm going to take you back to the weather maps, and we're going to talk about this warning, which is now in northern DuPage County and southern and western portions of Cook County. This one now goes until 7 o'clock. And we'll zoom on in for the radar for that here as I pull it off of this storm that's moving down the I-55 corridor and zoom it on into northern portions of DuPage County. So again, this warning, this goes until 7 o'clock. I'm going to put the area on the board, and I'm going to go ahead and draw it out. Again, we're covering a bunch of tornadoes at once here, a bunch of tornado warnings at least. And remember I mentioned Schaumburg and Palatine and those types of areas, and Bartlett too I mentioned. Well, here you go. About 6:30. Is when, so right now, that's over Bartlett. So if you're in Bartlett, you need to be in your safe space at this point. Carroll Stream will give you a little bit of an advanced warning. You have about 10 minutes to get to your safe spot. Schaumburg, you have about 20 minutes to get to your safe spot, or I'm sorry, about 10, 15 minutes to get to your safe spot. And then you've got Glendale Heights too at 6:51. Again, this goes until 7 o'clock. So we're watching this continue to move off to the east. You see that warning that's back off to the west of that one? That one's likely going to be expired. So if you live in, that would be Kendall County, looks like you're in the clear at least from that warning for the time being. But right now we are tracking this cell, which is over northern DuPage County and southern Cook County. I'm going to clear everything off of the board that I just put on there, and I'm going to put up the velocity data just to see if I can see out on the first look any rotation that I can. That'd be back here near Schaumburg. So we're going to give you that same treatment that we gave the cell that was moving down I-55. If you live in Bartlett, you need to take your safe space now, especially if you live on Bartlett Road. I've been down that road, Schaumburg Road too. You're going to have to go ahead and take your get to your safe space right now. Out near Hanover Park, Newport Boulevard, Central Avenue, Weathersfield Way, Schaumburg Road too, as you head into Schaumburg. I know there's a shopping area that's kind of around that spot. You too need to be in your safe space as this makes its way down, not only US 20, but also 19, 58, and also 72. So that's all the street names kind of around that area within about the next half hour that you have to take shelter in. Then we head a little bit farther off to the north, and there's more rotation up here around Lake Zurich. This warning just getting issued. You can kind of see it flashing on the map right now, so I'll pull that data off and we'll get the latest on it because you're learning about it at the same time I am. And this one also goes until 7 o'clock in the evening, and this is for kind of the north side of Barrington, kind of where the Motorworks dealership is, and then making its way out off to the east. So this goes until 7 o'clock in the evening as well. We'll name some roads that are down at the street level on this: Vernon Hills, Long Grove, Killdeer, Hawthorne Woods. Also, if you're along Route 22, or Illinois 22, I should say, you're underneath this tornado warning, and again, this goes until 7 o'clock. So as we kind of spread out the view here and take a look, we've got warnings that are in northern DuPage County until 7, warnings that are out in extreme western portions and southwestern portions of Cook County, and then warnings that are in now Lake County, Illinois too. This warning that's out for Cary, this warning that's out for Elgin, these are likely going to be expired and dropped off the board. So if you listen to us and you took rather your safe space out in like the Huntley area or Cary or out in Elgin, you can now start to emerge from that here as we watch these storms continue to march out off to the east. I want to take another look because we've, of course, been watching very closely that storm that's been moving towards Chicago. And it does still look like there's some rotation on the radar, although that honestly looks a lot better than it did before. And Cheryl, if they're saying anything in National Weather Service chat, then go ahead and pop in and let me know. But as I even look from that McCook Reservoir camera, even though it's moved off into the distance, that does look a lot better. Still, though, as we learned from this cell, they still have that tornado warning that is out into Chicago until 7 o'clock. And why is that? Well, again, as we learned from this cell, this was the same one that very briefly during the 5 o'clock hour, shortly after 5:30, brought the warning to southern DuPage. And then we watch this cell move on. So we continue to watch here this moving, and there you go. That's a live view out from the city, and you're looking past the Sears Tower. That is the wall cloud from the system. Can I get over there? I can't, obviously, because there's a box in the way. But that is the wall cloud, the rotation that we're watching from this, and it's blocked, unfortunately, by the Sears Tower. But by all indications, because I'm not seeing any debris at the ground, it looks like that rotating wall cloud, which is moving. You can see it rotating right in front of your eyes. Does not have a tornado attached to it. Still, we can watch that. We need to continue to watch it. I see people walking around the streets of Chicago right now. It probably shouldn't be out there as this makes its way downtown because, again, as we know, this can drop a tornado at any point. It just did it out near Cicero. It did it out in Naperville, too, and it can do it again before it finally moves safely out over Lake Michigan. So really need to stay vigilant with this. It's going to be a wild sight that you see coming into Chicago in the next couple of minutes. It reminds me of the last time that we saw something like this where the rotation was directly over Navy Pier. And we can see it on our cameras too, thankfully out already over the lake. So from Chicago to the north side, Wrigley to the south side as well, past the Sox Park, you still need to be watching this. And as I pull up National Weather Service chat just to get the latest stuff, getting closer to needing a tornado warning for southern Cook County near Homer Glen and Tinley Park. Not there yet, but getting close. So yeah, so we're watching a storm out in Homer Glen too. And Cheryl's, of course, watching all of these on the radar and keeping up to date with those. We also have a tornado warning, a new one. That one just came out for southwestern Lake County, which we talked about up off to the north. And spreading out the view, you can see that is still on the board. So I know there's 5 warnings that are on the board right now. Cary, Campton Hills, Bloomingdale, the one up around Bartlett too, and Palatine, and the one that's just off to the west of Wheeling, and the one for Chicago. The ones that we're watching most closely are these 3, as it looks like Cary and Campton Hills are now in the clear. So Cheryl, if you have anything else on that cell that's moving closer to Chicago, let me know. But it looks better on our sky cams, but still, I mean, it's not every day you see a wall cloud move over the city of Chicago, so we need to watch that very closely.
No, and reports of tornado touchdowns with the cell moving into Cook County. So this is just an impressive situation and setup, and we've been monitoring this throughout the afternoon and evening, and we really saw the atmosphere and the environment really start to destabilize after the first round of rain and storms that moved through. But like Greg mentioned, we're not seeing that tight circulation that we were just about 15-20 minutes ago in the Chicago area. With that said, we were just showing you that ominous view of Willis Tower, and a wall cloud still not out of the realm of possibilities, but the tornado that was on the ground definitely has weakened. However, if you are under the warning, we still want you to stay in your safe place, because what happens with the frontal boundary latch it across our area, these storms will latch onto the front. They'll drop a tornado, one or two tornadoes. I'm seeing reports of twin tornado touchdowns in parts of the area as well, because there is so much spin with the showers and storms that are developing, and they can then decrease in intensity. That storm will basically fizzle out, and then it will bubble back up again with the potential of producing more spin. So there's so many updates coming in at this point in time. And as you can see, we still have a bunch of warnings on the map. We're now showing you the live view there. Definitely seeing some downpours approaching the city right now. This is a crazy, ominous view. What I am noticing, though, not seeing that tornado touchdown, but still looking very dark. I guess I should be looking this way with you all. And you can see just the very ominous skies with back in the background where we have those lower clouds. That's where we're finding some very heavy rain coming down, and also keeping our close eye. Any lowering of the cloud structures, allowing for a spin, a lowering of a funnel cloud or a tornado, not out of the question. So let's backtrack just for a second and go over all of these warnings that we still have on the map. So this is one here for Cook County that we've been talking about, and it has had a history of producing tornadoes. This is in effect until 7 p.m. So for the next 20 minutes, you got to stay with us here from Wrigley Field down to the city. I just want to switch over to velocity quickly on this, because something that we've been looking at closely with this storm, because it was very evident with the spin, and also the possibility here of some weak hail and some strong winds coming in with this storm. So still finding some rotation here, and there you can see that spin still picking up on some just south of the city right now, but basically moving over as it heads off to the east. So back to radar we go, because we still have a lot of warnings on the map. And for those of you up in Lake County, you are under a tornado warning. This is going to remain in effect until 7 p.m. as well. Radar indicated touchdown, or radar indicated tornado potential here, but there are definitely some storm spotters out that have been seeing the possibility of a tornado touchdown in this area, and this is right around Lake Zurich, and you can see over towards Long Grove, Vernon Hills. You're in this warning until 7 p.m. Again, all of these showers and storms that are developing out there tonight, the possibility of dropping a tornado within seconds to minutes is not out of the question. That's how much spin we have in the atmosphere. And I can tell you, these aren't extremely strong supercell thunderstorms that we are seeing develop here. And that just goes to show that spin in the lowest level of the atmosphere right along the ground is allowing for these showers and storms to pick up on that spin and drop tornadoes. That cloud height, not that high. So here we go into the next warning that we have. You can see Hanover, Schaumburg, this pushing out of the Elgin area. This warning in effect until 7 p.m. as well. So pretty much all of the warnings we have in our map right now will remain in effect for the next 15 to 20 minutes, and we'll see if anything is extended past that. At this point in time, I will not be surprised if we get more warnings as these storms continue to migrate off to the east. But from Schaumburg down towards Bloomingdale right now, and there are reports of tornado touchdowns very close towards the Elgin area, and this is where that storm moved out of Kane County. So right along 20 here, and just to the south now of 90. It's about to cross over 290 here. And that will continue its way off to the east. But from Schaumburg down towards Bloomingdale, we're finding the intense rains, also the possibility here of that rotation happening. So I do want to switch over to velocity and take a quick look at what we're finding here in parts of Lake County. Still Finding that distinct boundary, red next to green, a little bit of a couplet here. This is what we're going to look at to find that spin. So this is that warning up in Lake County, Lake Zurich, South Old Rand Road there, Cuba Road. This will continue to pass to the east right along 22, Kildare, Long Grove Road. If you're hearing your names or your street names or your neighborhood or a road out ahead or a city that you live close to, it's that time to get to your safe place and stay in it and stay with us. These warnings will continue. So out ahead, as we continue to monitor this, these are moving at about 25, 30 miles per hour. So they're not moving all that quickly. So you have to think about standing on a street corner and a car driving by you at about 25, 30 miles per hour. Sometimes we have storms that are tracking at about 50, 60 miles per hour at times. That's not the case with these. They're not that fast moving, but Long Grove at 648 as we track this in the next couple of minutes, Vernon Hills at 650 here, and still finding that couplet, that tight rotation within this warned zone. Buffalo Grove at 653, and this will continue to the east here. A lot that we have to continue to monitor because there is so much action and so much activity. So we're going to take a step back here with the National Weather Service. Confirmed tornado now on the east side of Streamwood. So Greg, with that confirmed tornado, I am going to send it over to you. I don't know if we got a new warning for that. Okay, take us to where we're seeing this one now.
Yeah, so that's out kind of like around the Streamwood, rather Schaumburg type area, and you can see kind of those brighter colors. I've changed radars from the one that I've changed radars from the one that Cheryl was using, just because it kind of brightens up the colors just a little bit, but bouncing between the two is pretty good because you get two different angles. So this one's going to be just off to the west of Schaumburg, kind of here's their rotation, and then there's that other rotation just out near Wooddale and Roselle that we're also watching. Now this tornado warning goes until 7 o'clock in the evening, and I do want to say that the National Weather Service has given the all clear for Boone, McHenry, DeKalb, LaSalle, Kendall, and Grundy counties too. And we're also watching that weak rotation as it makes its way over Chicago now. But the good news is that it's just rotation. It's over, well, I just saw it on our shed camera, kind of Hyde Park, South Chicago, Tinley Park, but it looks like in about 2 or 3 minutes that's going to be out of the lake, so we're not so worried about that anymore. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put on the warnings that we have at this time, spreading out the view and showing you those warnings. Again, we have the one that is still active for Chicago. I expect that to expire within the next couple of minutes, as it just has, because that has now moved out over Lake Michigan. And now we are watching these two main ones. Now, there's a difference in color. It's subtle, but you'll probably notice it here with the outline box. This one has a pink border around it. That's a PDS warning, particularly dangerous, of course I can't say that word right now, situation. That is because the tornado has been spotted on the ground. That's for the Schaumburg area. It's for Bloomingdale. If you live out in western, southwestern portions, or I guess just extreme western portions of Cook County, kind of where it goes over and hugs DuPage County a little bit, this is for you. You need to be in your safe spot right now for at least the next 15 to 20 or so minutes. We're going to zoom back in. I'm going to put on that velocity data again so I can see exactly where the rotation is, so I give you accurate streets. So here it is, as clear as day to me as I zoom on in. So Weathersfield Way, if you're along that, then you're going to have to go ahead and go to your safe spot. And that extends all the way through, it looks like the south side of town through Schaumburg, all the way up to Roselle Road. So if you're anywhere along there, this rotation is about to move directly down Weathersfield Way. You got to give it a couple streets north and south. If you're vaguely familiar with where that road is, then that is going to be the area that you're going to have to take shelter at this time. You can also see how the rotation kind of jumps around a little bit too. Now the brightest greens are there, right next to the reds that are just south again of Weathersfield Road, just north of Wise Road. Hanover Park, hopefully in your safe spot too. I'm going to move this a little bit farther off to the east and spread out the view again so we can give some other spots ahead and up. But Medina, Roselle too, Lawrence Avenue out in Roselle, Central Avenue out near Roselle, and then also, of course, we mentioned that road. Wise Road, as it extends all the way out to about 290, is also a spot that you're going to have to keep an eye on. And again, if you're in that area, you need to go to your safe spot. Really, anywhere in this box, even as it extends down to Carroll Stream and Glendale Heights, if you've seen anything from the last about hour or so that we've been on, it's that these tornadoes can very quickly spin up. They can spin up in different spots. They can go away and come back, and that all ties to how much instability is in the atmosphere. And we're not completely out of the woods just yet, because even though most of us here have already seen that tornado threat pass out off to the west, we still have a decent portion of the viewing area, including northwest Indiana, that's in that tornado watch until 10 o'clock. So if you are in our viewing area, you still do need to keep a very close heads up on what's going on. As I spread out the view towards Wooddale and Elk Grove and Mount Prospect, you can still see very clearly on the radar that those are areas of our concern. You're getting another little round of heavy rain kind of out in the Winfield to Addison to Wheaton area. That is not tornado warned. Importantly, I want you to be sure of that, because of course we've had plenty of warnings and I'm sure you're worried about it at that point. And this is video out from Campton Hills. And that is very clearly out to our western counties. That is very clearly a tornado that is or was on the ground out there around Campton Hills. And you can see how very quickly that extends down from the wall cloud and to the ground. And yeah, there's debris in there. That's the debris signature that we've been seeing on radar. And there you go, puffs of debris that gets pulled up from it too. You can even see kind of some chunks as that makes its way. This is out in Kane County, and that is a perfect example of how violent the lower levels of the atmosphere are right now. When we saw these storms just forming out there around Dubuque, Iowa, we knew that there was enough low-level shear that if we happened to get updrafts into thunderstorms very quickly as they came off the ground, they would get an aggressive spin as they made their way up into the wall cloud. And that is just textbook right there in terms of a tornado on the ground. As I'm looking off to a monitor off to the side, I know I'm not looking directly at the thing.